Hello and welcome back to Rule a Game. In this video I'll show you how to play Flowers, a Mandala game by Brett J. Gilbert and Trevor Benjamin, published by Lookout Games. This is a game for 2 to 4 players, lasts about 30 minutes and it's recommended start at age 10. As usual, I'll start first with how to score the game, then I'll show you how to play the game, I'll give you some hints for your first game, and then we're also going to go into how to set up the game. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, but now let's get started with Flowers.
Rule the game.
In Flowers, you collect flower tiles that you can put together to some flowers, and they give you points for it. At the end of the game, everybody should have some flower tiles, and if you have flower tiles of the same color, they should have been put together. So here we have 2 full flowers and 2 single flower tiles. The way you score it now is that you take first your full flowers, you'll take the tile that has the most flowers on it, you get the number of flowers on there as points, and on the other side where you have less flowers, you get the number of those flowers doubled. So in this case it's 4 flowers here plus 2 times 2, also 4, which is 8. In some cases you might have tiles that have a times 3. If that's the case, then you get the number of these flowers times 3. So this flower as a whole is worth 12 points. So by now we already have 20 points. Should you have a single flower tile that has a times 3, that gives you no points at all. If you have a single flower tile which has some flowers on it, you get the number of flowers there as the point. So in this case 4. So we had 8 plus 12 plus 4 is a total of 24 points. How you get to the flower tiles is what I'm going to show you now in the gameplay section of this video. Flowers is a turn-based game. Now as you can see, unfortunately I didn't really have enough space to put down the whole game mat here in the middle. On the game mat there are 3 of these big flowers. You're going to play on each of these 3 flowers at the same time. I'm just going to show you here how the game actually happens on 1 flower, but the other 2 happen simultaneously in the same way. Now on the mat I'm showing you a 3-player game that has already progressed quite a bit. As you can see, you have here cards from 1 player, then cards from another, and cards from a 3rd player. This one is me. You see that there are some cards that are face up and some cards that are face down. Now each player has a number of cards in their hand. They have a most of 8 cards with some exceptions that I'm going to get to later. And when it's their turn, the first thing they do is that they can put down a card on a flower. Now you can put down as many cards as you like of 1 color. It doesn't have to be all the cards of that color that you have, but you can put as many as you want, but it can only be 1 color. Now if you want to put down a card of a color that's already here in that flower, and that could be the color of other cards in that flower, but also the color here of the flower tiles, then you'll put down that card face down. You first show it to all the other players so that they know that you haven't cheated, but then you put it down face down. If you decide to play cards of a different color, you place them on here face up. Please note that if you put down 2 or more cards, you still have to have some cards in your hand afterwards. You can't have an empty hand, otherwise your move's not allowed. There needs to be at least 1 card left. However, if you played just 1 card and you have only 1 card left, then that's fine. And why is that? Because in the next step, you will now get cards in case you've only played a single card. If you played a single card, you can get up to 4 cards so that you have up to 8 cards in your hand again. In my case, I only had 4 cards left. I'll take 4 more. If you have, of course, 5 cards, you take only 3. Should you have played 2 or more cards at the same time, you will not be able to pick up any cards. As the next step, we check who can claim the flower. Now, if you only have face down cards, like this player here, there's no check because you can only claim a flower if you have face up cards, at least 1. So let's say I had played this lilac color, I put it down here. I do have some face up cards here. So what we do now is that we check if I, who was the active player, if I have more cards than anybody else who has face-up cards here. In this case here, you'll see that this person here already has 4 cards. I also have 4 cards. I don't have more. I can't claim the flower. Had I played these 2 yellow cards, now I have 5 cards. So I can claim the flower, which is that I take this claim marker and put it on my cards. And then we come to the last step of my turn, and that's that we check if this flower is complete. A flower is complete when all 6 colors are in the flower. Now in this case, that's actually the case. We have 2 colors here in the middle. We have 2 here and 2 here, so we have a total of 6. What we do now is that we destroy this flower and hand out these flower tiles that are in the middle here to different players. First, the person who has the claim marker, no matter if that's the active player or a player who has played before, the person with the claim marker will get to pick one of the 2 flower tiles that they can take to themselves. The person with the second most cards, and within these second most cards there needs to be at least 1 face-up card, that person will then get the other flower tile. Now be aware that you have to take that flower tile. You can't reject it. You'll have to take it and use it with your flowers. Now let's say that I already had some flower tiles here. I decided to take this one here. I'll just add it to my flower tiles. Nothing really happens. This player here though, when they take this flower tile, they already had a dark blue flower tile. They now have to put these 2 flower tiles together to form 1 full flower, and they flip the flower around, and they will not be allowed to split these tiles apart anymore. So when you get a flower tile from a flower and you can match it to another one of the same color, you have to put them together and then you have to flip them around. If there's a tie for second most cards on a flower, then the person who has most faced up cards will get the flower tile. If the tie cannot be broken between the second most players, or if only one person has put down cards on a certain flower, then the winner takes both flower tiles. In a 2-player game, the person who is second can only claim a flower tile if they have at least half the number of cards of the person who won the flower. Otherwise, the winner takes both flower tiles. What happens next is that the cards of the players who have now received flower tiles, those are going face up onto a discard pile, while the person who has not received any flower tiles can pick up these cards and put them back in their hand. This is the only way that you can end up with more than 8 cards in your hand at once. And finally, we set up a new flower here by taking a white and a black tile here and putting them together face up. And we put the clay marker on top. And now it's the next player's turn. We'll keep playing these turns until one player has 3 full flowers. That's the end of the game, even if we haven't played a full round yet. And we'll take the other flowers that are still there on the table that haven't been destroyed yet. We'll destroy them using the regular rules and hand out the flower tiles to all the different players. And afterwards, we score. And here's some hints for the first game. You will notice that there's a lot going on because you have 3 flowers and everybody's kind of fighting for at least 2 of those flowers at the same time. So you're going to have to really figure out where you want to put your cards, because what you need to know if you're playing it for the first time is that flowers can go very rapidly. So you might not get many more chances than maybe 2 turns to put down cards on one flower. By the 3rd turn, the flower might already be gone and there are new flower tiles there and you have to start over again. So think wisely about what you do, especially when you put down cards face down, so cards with the color that's already there. In that case, if the flower is destroyed, is finished, and you haven't had a single face-up card, you don't get anything. Now in that case, at least you get all your cards back, but you don't get a flower tile. So it hasn't really helped you much, because next round you're going to still be putting down cards somewhere else, and everybody else can do that too. Also remember that you can only claim the flower if you have the most cards, but also at least one face-up card. So you need to figure out exactly when to place down your face-up card, how early it's necessary. Claiming a flower is not really that helpful in an early stage. It really is more when it comes towards the end of a round or towards the end of a flower where 4 or 5 colors have already been played. And you might want to keep one card of each color in your hand. Well, you only have 8, but keep some of these colors in your hand so that you can actually finish flowers. When you finish a flower, you decide when it's done and you decide if you're going to win something or not. So you have a little bit of decision in there that you can do yourself. What doesn't seem to pay off is if you just try to play your own game by going for flowers that nobody else wants. That usually takes too long until you've placed down all the different colors and you still don't get many points. So if you have a flower that's only 2 and 2 points, you might just not waste your energy on that either. Other than that, just try it out. It's a 20 to 30 minute game, so hopefully you have enough time to play at least 2 rounds of it so that you have a chance to get some revenge in the second game. And that is Flowers, another Mandala game. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please subscribe below. And next up, I'll show you how to set up the game. To set up the game, you take the game mat and put it in the middle of the table. You then separate the black and the white flower tiles. You shuffle them, put them in a stack next to the game mat. You then take one white and one black flower tile and put it face up on each of the 3 flowers that you have. And on top of it, you'll also put a claim marker. You'll then shuffle all the cards, put the deck next to the game mat or on the game mat somewhere. And the first player takes 5 cards, the second 6, the third 7, and the fourth player takes 8 cards. And that's already it. You're ready to go.